All right, let's call the meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jacqueline is here, so we do have a quorum. And then I'm going to add a couple of things to the agenda as well. First of all, I want to welcome the new board members who will be seated momentarily. For those that didn't hear the results, although I'm sure all of you probably did, Leroy Perrin and Dr. Bob Turek are the new board members, and Roland Lynch was reelected to another term. So welcome to all of you and congratulations. And we will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Madam Secretary, would you please do the roll call of the current board?
With the current board, okay. Will.
Here.
Jacqueline.
Here.
Kim is excused. Stan Weiner.
Here.
Roland.
Here.
Dolores. Here. Mike, obviously.
I'm
Here. And Dan.
And then Dan O'Connor,
Dan O'Connor
is now a member at large, which means a non-voting member who can take part in discussions but cannot make motions, second motions, or vote. All right. I would also ask, just out of courtesy to the board and to the public, that all board members and people in the audience would please silence their cell phones. So that we don't have, what you'll hear beeping from me is my insulin pump. So I apologize, but I can't exactly turn that one off.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's, I'm going to seat the new board members. Leroy, I'm not sure which side they have you on.
He's not up there, but it's, he's gonna.
Oh, well, you're not up here. All right, so you got the new ones. Okay, Leroy. And we need a chair for Dr. Turek as well.
So Dan's on the end, but I don't know if he's coming.
Okay, yeah, I don't think Dan is coming, and if he is, he's just gonna give his superintendent's report. Okay, so come on up, you two. You are now official members of the board of directors, and would you please add them to the roll call, Madam Clerk?
Okay, Dr. Turek.
Here.
You want Dr. Turek on the board? Okay, and Leroy Perrin.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. I want to add a couple of items to the agenda, and then I'll open it up if anyone else has any. At the bottom, under new business, after the election of board officers, Roland wants to talk about a bid he got for some tree removal for some trees that are having a few issues. And then I would like to add a public statement from myself after the public comment at the end of the meeting. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Any other additions to the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the agenda as amended, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. I kind of skipped ahead when I congratulated you two. That was later on in the agenda. So again, congratulations, and look forward to working together to make steps in improving what we do here in the community. All of you who have gotten your board books should have last month's minutes. Are there any changes, addendums, additions? I know you.
This one doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yes, is it okay if I make a
Yeah.
comment?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay,
You were here, so.
yeah, with the minutes, I just had one comment to make. When I went through the minutes, I saw that it said that there were like 5 people made comments last week. Is there any chance we could have something like just a short like what the comments were, just something short in there?
What the comments are about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
moving forward, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously we.
well, I know, change that.
We'd just be making
I've
stuff
I've
up.
been
then.
working at making my minutes shorter. At the behest of those who have to read them.
Yeah, but I mean, just something like, what was the subject of the comment, so.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to have a whole report on it by any means.
Like complaints.
complaints
Whatever.
or comments about
Compliment.
community event or something. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. If you could do that, Pam, that'd be
Sure.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have to get the names of the people.
yeah, so when we get to public comment, so that we can record it accurately, if you would give your name and your township or city of residence, and then proceed with your comment. As always, we have a 2-minute time limit. And I don't care if you're yelling at me or complimenting me, we have a 2-minute time limit. While I would love to keep the compliments going longer, we're gonna be fair to everybody. And just as a reminder, the board does not need to respond during public comment. That's part of Robert's Rules of Order. If the board chooses to respond, they can, but it is certainly not necessary. Okay, and if you have questions, one thing I want to say, I'm going to say this in my comment at the end of the meeting, but I'll repeat it now, is that if you have questions or you have concerns, we're easy to find. Everybody knows who we are. Please call us and ask us, or email us and ask us. That's the absolute best way, or catch us before the meeting or immediately following the meeting, unless we go into closed session, then obviously you can't do that. But okay, are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Your name is spelled wrong?
Again. Is that?
There's a Y, JACQUELY.
Okay. Oh, that's.
Duly noted. Any other changes or corrections? Hearing and seeing none, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes with Jacqueline's corrected name? Aye. All opposed, nay?
Okay, no,
I, we're I and I.
Are you saying yes or no?
yes.
Okay, that sounded unanimous.
It was.
Okay, so the minutes are approved. This is gonna be one of those days, I have a feeling. Board members, you have in your books, the names and phone numbers and emails of all of the board members. You'll find that a little bit later in the book. And for you, the 2 new board members, you will have a senior center email. It's just your last name, first initial at alconaseniors.org. So you'll have that. All right. Moving along, let me get back to the front here. Public comment. Is there anybody in the public who would like to comment? Here.
Jerry Bruck, Mitchell Township. I just want to remind this board that God is the one that puts people in authority. And, it seems that if you read the Gospel of John, chapter 3, it talks about people doing things in darkness. Because men believe in the light. It seems ever since we've been approaching this board, there's always roadblocks that keep coming. Change the free speech methods, change the FOIA regulations. It sounds like you just treated an elderly person in charge of excessive amounts of heat. And now all of a sudden I hear there's disclosure stuff that's being wanted to be signed. I don't think you're adding to the light of that, or I think you're hiding the darkness. And one day you will account for what you're doing. Take that to heart. God always allows for you.
Thank you, Gary. Any other public comment? Good.
Introduce myself. Most of you know me.
I think all of us probably do.
Mr. Avery,
Mhm.
my name is Chris Scully,
Mhm.
okay? It's not much of a pleasure to meet you. Under the circumstances, back in March, I had an incident with one of the food trucks. The door on one of the food trucks had been in malfunctioning condition. And I'm sure that whoever had drove the truck and was delivering with that knew that the one back door did not close properly. I was cleaning the vehicles for the ACCOA, went to park the vehicle in a spot where one of the employees had a van parked there, was stuck earlier that day. When I went to put that vehicle in that place so she wouldn't get stuck, the door came open and it ran into the side of the Jeep. I looked at the damage. I had another vehicle back at the car wash. I brought that vehicle back over here, put it in the barn, brought the keys in, and Leanne at that time was the only person that I had dealt with these vehicles. She wasn't in her office. I left the keys on her desk. It was a Friday afternoon. I had other business to take care of. Wasn't a matter of life or death. The damage had been done. I came back on Tuesday to talk to Leanne, and I was greeted by Mr. Avery. But I wasn't, he didn't introduce himself or anything. He intimidated me in front of a bunch of people. I did get an apology from his assistant, but it really put a bad mark in my heart towards the ACCOA. And I am now, I mean, I've been a senior for years and never taken much advantage of the good opportunities we have here. But very, very unprofessional of a director.
Thank you, Mr. Scully. Yes, Lisa.
Lisa Turek, Harrisville Township. I wanted to say that back on October 10th, I filed a discrimination claim. I sent a letter to all the ACCOA board members. The deadline for the 2-week notice, according to ACCOA's policy, that I got the paper and followed exactly what I'm supposed to do, was 2 weeks response. 2 weeks was yesterday, so I have not received anything. And the sign on the door says you've got 24-hour surveillance, audio and video, which I think after you receive that on the 10th, you could have actually gone to the video and seen or heard exactly what happened to me and my husband on that day. And so, but I haven't heard anything. So my next step is not only to call NEMSA, because they said I need to call them if you hadn't responded in 2 weeks, but there is also a form on your website for a USDA discrimination complaint, which I'm going to have to file because that's my next step, and I haven't heard anything from the board. So I know that your intention might be to have people contact you and you want to have an open door policy and let's see what's happening. But I sent in a complaint 2 weeks ago, and the only person I heard from was Pam, who acknowledged that she did receive the complaint. So I just wanted to let you know that we don't get a response from the board, and that's what I'm going to have to do my next process. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I did talk to Bob yesterday, and I told Bob that I would be seating a committee, a grievance committee, to investigate so I did respond.
Oh, not to me, but
Well,
that's okay. That's all right.
The email also came from him, so I figured,
Okay.
so yes,
Alright.
we did. I'm going to be seating the grievance committee today. We'll be investigating and definitely we'll get back with you. Okay.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Karen Charbonneau from House Township. We stood here this morning, all of us, and said, "One nation under God." I'm asking this board to start acting in a godly fashion and do the will of the people. We do not, you've got to know, we do not want these apartments. We want a senior center. So I'm asking you, and this crowd here, we're all going to be praying for you, that you do the right thing. Vote and do what's right for the community. You know, we can vote no on the next senior village if that's what it's going to take to stop these apartments. So vote for don't be afraid of anybody here. Vote what's right. Because you know what? I and all of us are going to stand before the Lord one day and give an account of our actions. So I pray God's blessing upon you.
We appreciate your prayers, but please don't point your finger at me.
I didn't.
You were pointing it directly
No.
at me and that was rude.
I was
I don't
not-
do it to you.
No, I was not pointing at you, I was pointing, just pointing, no particular person.
Anybody else? Yes,
Just Dobbs, Curtis Township.
I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Jessica Dobbs.
Thank you.
Curtis Township.
Yes.
My only question is, I see you have Zoom book over there. Is there a link available anywhere for future Zoom meetings, or do you host the Zoom meetings?
My intention is to have all of our meetings available by Zoom for the public, because I understand that there are some seniors who are homebound and can't make it in for the meetings, et cetera. So yes, that is my intention to do that. Of course. What's that?
To get with Mike.
Yeah, we have to get with our tech person to get that set up, but yes,
Do you have a rough estimate on when you hope to have that completed?
I would assume we could have it done by the next meeting. I mean, it shouldn't take that long, but yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? I can't see.
Terry Goldstrom, Lincoln.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, I have a question. I was told that our two new board members were asked to sign a disclosure. Since this is a public building, why? We all should have access to everything that goes on here. Why these two?
We've all signed it, number one. And number two, board members do go into closed session at times, and that is strictly confidential information. That's privileged information. Secondly, there's a law that I know Dr. Turek is very familiar with called HIPAA, where client information is strictly confidential. That would be a violation of federal law to release that. And so since all of us as board members do have access to being here, and if we're, say, having lunch downstairs and we hear, overhear the name of a client, or we overhear a home care worker talking to his or her supervisor about a client, we happen to overhear it, that is strictly confidential information.
I understand that, but financial records should all be open to the public, correct?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's public information, it's public tax money that, and we talk about it openly during the meetings. So, anything that's said here, if we say it, it's public, you can repeat it, and we can repeat it as well. So we are working on a new confidentiality agreement. It was pointed out that some of the definitions were a little bit broad. Our attorney wrote it, but we are going to be changing it a little bit to make it less broad, to be specific about, for instance, closed session, and also add in the HIPAA clause to make sure that it's clear what it is we're talking about. So I emailed the attorney yesterday, asking his opinion. Dr. Turek took the form to the prosecuting attorney, who brought up his concerns. I placed a call to Mr. Weichel. He was not in his office yesterday, and I didn't have time to call him before the meeting today. So my intention is to either call him or go to his office today to discuss what his concerns were, so that we can get a confidentiality, I can't even talk, a confidentiality agreement that is agreeable to everybody on the board. That's it. It's not just board members, it's all of our employees, for obvious reasons.
Right. Well, I understand the HIPAA thing completely. I
You know.
think that's the way it should.
Yeah, and closed session, there's a reason it's a closed session, and so that information can't be disclosed as well. Okay? Thank you. Any others? No. There will be another time at the end of the meeting, like we did last week, for 2-minute comments as well. So if you come up with anything during the meeting, any questions or what have you, again, we will at those, just shortly before adjournment, we will offer another time of public comment. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Do we have anybody wishing to address the board? I think I saw NEMSCA.
Yeah,
Or are you
well,
going to do that during your NEMSCA report?
Yeah, she's on the report.
All right.
It's not Kelly.
No.
I don't have any report.
Okay.
All right, well, tell you what, why don't, instead of taking up time during reports, then would you introduce yourself and
Yeah. I'm Caitlin Franks. I am the new financial analyst at NEMSCA and
she's,
my name's Caitlin Franks. I'm the new financial analyst at NEMSCA, so I'll be attending the meetings.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all.
she'll be our NEMSCA
Yep.
liaison.
Can you describe your job duties at NEMCA?
Well, I'm brand new. I've only been there for a few weeks, but I mostly will be doing the accounting work and financial analyst work with the statement grant awards. That's almost communicating that with you. But yeah, so far.
Well,
Thank you.
welcome aboard and congratulations on the new position. All right, moving on, we already did the election results and welcome of new members, so let's move on to reports. Commissioners report, Bill.
Budget has been the major activity at our end. We have another meeting Wednesday. One following Monday to go over non-general fund. We did get through the general fund. Not too bad this year with the help of the American Rescue Funds and the department heads and their members watching the budget closely. We've come out at a pretty good stand. One of our members has been ill. Carolyn's been off for a couple weeks now, so it wasn't much to do in the personnel line. Budget's been a big issue. We do, outside of the county, we do have the county fair dates. I believe they're August 8th through the 12th. Next year, be the second week again in August. And we do have the carnival, which
Same
is
carnival.
that was the big hinge. They have their contract and they've said they're bringing more rides. So now we can work with the singers and so forth. We're looking at having 2 days worth of singing. We're in the negotiations with them now.
The tribute
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's been a popular event. Great, thank you, Bill. And please give our regards and thoughts and prayers to Carolyn. Quick recovery from whatever it is she's got. Dan O'Connor, superintendent report. I don't think
Yeah,
I saw him walk
He's not
in.
on.
Okay. Skip that. NEMSCA, you said you did not have a report today, correct? Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Regional Advisor Board report. My name is still on there. Kim Fleming was our liaison to NEMSCA AAA board. And because she decided to resign from the board, she is no longer that representative. So I will be once again representing the senior center on the NEMSCA Regional Advisory Board for Aging. As such, I did not attend the last meeting because I wasn't the representative at the time. So I'll be attending the next meeting and I'll be able to report back next month to you. From here, a good chunk of the rest of the meeting is going to be a board training. I would encourage all of the public to remain here as well, simply because it never hurts anyone to learn more about how the board functions, why we do, what we do, et cetera. So there's been a lot of talk about open meetings and such, and we want to be as open as we can. And so anyone that wants, if you think you're going to be bored and want to leave, that's fine too. Don't be afraid to do that. But we welcome all of you to stay and see what it is we do. Okay, so I'm at this point, until the training is over, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Lenny and Tony Scott, who is our HR and 14,000 other titles. And they will go ahead and handle the training for all of us, not just the new members.
I do have, can I introduce myself?
Yes,
I'm sure there are
please.
many people who do not know me, but yes, my name is Tony Scott. I'm the programs director at ACCOA. And yes, with that comes the financial portion and the human resources portion of ACCOA. I onboard all new staff. So anytime we get new staff in, I spend 3-4 hours onboarding them, orientating them with our policies and procedures, all of our rules and regulations. They all do sign a confidentiality statement. That is nothing new. They go over a lot of laws, a lot of rules that we do as far as HIPAA, elder abuse, a lot of things to get them on board with what we do. We decided it's very good to not only orientate the staff, but we need to orientate the board. A lot of new faces, welcome aboard, happy to have you. So we decided to kind of, instead of focus on what we do with the staff, kind of focus on what the rules are for the board, what we hope that you can help contribute to ACCOA, what you can bring to the table, new ideas, fresh things. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I'm not a good public speaker. I'm sorry. So I'm going to get all red and flustered and shaky because that's me. But I also just have little, I want to say, I always prepare for these staff. They have a binder. They have our handbook handy. They have our direct care worker manual handy with rules and everything. So I kind of put something together for our new board as well as our current board because some of them may not have it. And I find it's always handy to have something in like one spot to kind of go to. So I'm just going to pass this out real fast before Lenny starts. Thank you.
And I didn't make you one. right? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'll
say,
follow
you-
from the
you have
PowerPoint.
big time.
Again, I apologize for my pump beeping, but it's screaming at me. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys and the public for being here. It's good to have some public participation. We welcome public participation. I think this is going to be a eye-opening experience, not only for the board, but for the public as well. As we join the board, and we got to get the chance to see what we actually are, and what we do here at ACCOA. So welcome to our board presentation. So what is a commission on aging? There's a lot of questions that comes with that. There's a lot of misconception that comes with what a commission on aging is. A commission on aging provides a community focal point for the needs of our older adult population. You provide direct care services, meal assistance, plans, events, arrange for classes, and much, much more. These are some of the things, just the small things that we actually do. The Oconee County Commission on Aging is a 501c3 non-for-profit S Corp. A corporation organized for a nonprofit purpose means a nonprofit organization has been recognized by the IRS as being tax exempt by virtue of its charitable programs. Okay, so we are a 501c3 nonprofit. That makes us a private entity. Next, the Oconee County Commission on Aging is not a government agency. Okay, we facilitate government contracts and services. We partner via a contract with the Oconee County to facilitate senior services on its behalf. We are as a private agency separate from any local body. Okay, so these are the things that we are, and those are the things that we are not. Okay. So let's talk about the formation of ACCOA. Some 50 years ago, on November 7th, 1973, the Oconee County Commission on Aging was formed and a vision was cast for the residents of Oconee County. Over the next 50 years, Americans' view on aging would evolve, grow, and take shape. We would see seniors being more complex, vibrant, and active. From the 1970s till now, our views on seniors have kind of changed. We used to relegate seniors to the marginalized portions of society as being weak, frail, and feeble because they were not able to contribute to society according by the standards back in the 70s, 80s. But one of my favorite shows as a kid was the Golden Girls, and got a chance to be on television and see seniors. Most people who would get gray hair would be off of television. One wisp of gray hair, your nightly anchor was off the television. Those things were not valued as parts of our society. But things have changed. Laws have changed. Our views on seniors have changed. Seniors are more active. They live longer. They shelter or stay in place longer. They age in place longer. So these are the things that have kind of changed and shaped our values and beliefs and views of the ACCOA over the last 50 years. So then and now, changing the narrative. So in 1965, the Older Americans Act is created in response to concern by policymakers about a lack of community social services for older persons. Think about that. 1965, this country has been around a long, long time. And it wasn't until 1965 that someone said, we should do something for seniors. That there should be some type of safety net that protects our vulnerable population. So in 1965, like I said, the Older Americans Act is created. And in 1973, ACCOA is formed, benefiting from some of that legislation, and is created as a Commission on Aging. In the 1990s, the Americans Disabilities Act is created and signed into law. Again, highlighting Golden Girls. The Golden Girls have done a lot for seniors in this age. And from 2000 to 2010, population of American ages 65 and older nearly doubles. So we got older from the year 2000 to 2010. Seniors become more racially and ethnically diverse. More seniors are in the workforce and they're working longer. Seniors are aging in place longer. And now, because we have 50 years of historical data and 50 years of understanding that seniors are more than two-dimensional creatures, that we have education, policies, and resources that have shifted in favor of older Americans. So let's continue the conversation. So in 2013, long before I was there, the mission of ACCOA was to coordinate and provide and initiate programs to promote the independence and well-being of mature adults in Oconee County or within Oconee County. Today, the same mission, ACCOA mission, is promote the independence, well-being, and dignity to the aging population of Oconee County by coordinating and initiating programs that meet the needs of our community and their families. Because we have now seen that if the caregiver of the senior is not healthy, the senior is not healthy. We have now seen that seniors are taking care of school-age kids because things have become more complex. So that for us to best take care of our seniors, we have to look at all the situations around the senior, from the community environment in which they live, from the environment in which they age, from the type of living situation that they're currently in, what resources are around them, everything, the seniors ecosystem. So our mission statement, ACCOA mission is to promote independence, well-being, and dignity to the aging population of Oconee County by coordinating and initiating programs that meet the needs of our community and their families. That's our mission statement, okay? So what is meeting the needs of our community? How do we meet the needs of our community? So we do that by understanding, for you, the way that you can understand that is understand our service program and our structures. How does it all work? So these are some of the terms that you're gonna need to know. So we're gonna study up here, get a pen, write it down. Older Americans Act, 1965. I'm gonna go into that in a little bit detail. You need to know what the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is. You should know the Aging and Adult Services Agency, otherwise known as AAA. You should know what Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency, or NEMSCA, is. And you need to know what the operational standards are for each of these programs, because every program has their own set guidelines, rules, eligibility, and focuses that are set forth by the entities that grant or pay for those particular programs. So let's talk about the Older Americans Act. The Older American Act, or OAA for short, funds critical services that keep our nation's seniors healthy and independent. Services like meals, job training, senior centers, health promotions, benefits enrollment, caregiver supports, transportation, and more. That's OAA. That's the federal program that funnels the money throughout the United States, specifically for older Americans. And it provides these programs, like I said, meals, job training, senior centers, health promotions, benefits, enrollment, caregiver support, transportation, and more. These programs help seniors stay as independent as possible in their homes and communities. In addition, OAA services help seniors avoid hospitalizations, nursing home care, and as a result, save federal and state funds that could be otherwise spent on such other care. So the goal of the OAA is to allow for seniors not to rely on the system, is to provide that crucial assistance, not a government handout, an assistance that allows you to age in place longer. So you are not in an institution. Because you have a slip and fall in your house doesn't mean your kids need to put you in a nursing home. Maybe you just need some adaptive equipment like a toilet riser or bedside commode or some other adaptive technology that keeps you in your home. In 2020, a bipartisan, bicameral compromise led to a reauthorization of the Older Americans Act of the OAA. Funds from the OAA are federal funds, and they come with guidelines, eligibility requirements, accountability, and oversight. I'll say that one more time. OAA funds are federal funds that come with guidelines, eligibility requirements, accountability, and oversight. Continue on with the OAA or the Older Americans Act. The intent of the OAA is to promote the dignity of older adults by providing services that enable them to remain independent and engage citizens within their communities. This is straight from the website. Okay, while the program is open to older adults, generally defined as 60 and older, it focuses on offering assistance to persons with the greatest social and economic need. That is the criteria. They want to prioritize seniors who are in the greatest social and economic need, meaning that if you may qualify as a senior, but if you don't need the services, they don't want you to take the services away from someone who does. So this is an oversimplification, but I'll say it this way. The senior who needs in-home cleaning assistance because they're not able to clean their home and they're socially or economically in need will be prioritized versus the senior who is asking, come clean my beach house. The senior who may be socially and economically in need of food because they score higher on, say, a NAPIS or our internal scoring system will be prioritized versus someone who does not qualify or does not need the service. The OAA authorizes a range of services and supports that help older Americans remain as independent and productive as possible in their own homes and community. That is where they want you to stay in your communities and not institutions. Most services do not require means testing or co-payments, but donations may be requested. And some newer programs may have cost sharing or sliding scales. Unfortunately, years of limited funding has restricted access to OAA services, resulting in wait lists for many of these essential programs. So we have to prioritize those seniors who are in the highest need because we may not have as much funding that are able to help as many people within the community. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is where the millage comes in. The benefits of the OAA program are not just for older adults. Let me say that one more time. The benefits of OAA program are not just for older adults. They also support families by offering services to caregivers, and they provide jobs in the health and long-term care sectors in local communities around the country. So our mission and vision statement did not change. It's just reflective of the grant programs that we serve. It has language first protocols are forward language, like dignity, person-centeredness, meaning we want them to tell me how their services should be given to them, not me tell you how your services should be delivered. So this is from www.ncpsm.org or the Older American Act on Google search, if you choose to look that up. Next vocabulary word, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. This is the local. So I just explained the federal. Now let's explain the local. So we are in the state of Michigan. So Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services provide opportunities, services, and programs to promote a healthy, safe, and stable environment for the residents to be self-sufficient. That's their mission statement. Their vision statement is to develop and encourage measurable health, safety, and self-sufficiency outcomes that reduce and prevent risk, promote equity, foster healthy habits, and transform the health and human service system to improve the lives of Michigan families. Okay, this is another program that we serve to our community. Okay, so their vision and mission statement are part of our vision and mission statement. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Michigan's current aging population has increased in the number of older adults. 2.2 million older adults age 60 plus in Michigan. That's 22% of Michigan's population would be considered 60 years age or more. 85 and older age group is the fastest growing in Michigan at 102% projected to increase by 2030. So we are aging in place longer in Michigan and aging faster in Michigan. Some of the important demographics, the majority of the age cohort is women. There's a lot of elderly ladies. So 55% of the overall 22% is women. More than 24% of this age cohort is in the labor force. Why are they in the labor force? Because they can't afford retirement. They can't afford not to work. Social Security is not getting them to be able to lead, to eat and provide for their families. Okay, the seniors are the most vulnerable when it comes to things like a recession. We know this. More than 133,000 of older adults, 65 year age or older, have some type of cognitive disability. More than 84,000 grandparents of 60 years or age or older live in households where their own grandchildren are under the age of 18. So now, not only did they have children, but now they're again taking care of school-age children. That's in Michigan. Here, I'm going to show you a population report. As they tell you in the weather, never actually point. But I want to highlight this. So can everybody find Elkona? Everybody sees Elkona? What color is Elkona County? Pink. That means it is over 40% senior. So we are one of the what? Oldest communities in the state. This is according to Michigan Department of Health and Human
Hard to
Services.
see on that, but Alcona is the only one in that
Yeah.
bracket right there.
Yeah.
So that means Alcona County does have the greatest need.
And our average age in this county is, our median age
It's 56.9.
Yes.
So we're up there. And this is, like I said, the most vulnerable county, right? Who needs the most services? Excuse me, why is I wet my whistle here? Okay. So wait, I want to point this out. We're not even in the Upper Peninsula. We outweigh that. And that's considered pioneer or frontier. So this is where we're at. So the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services said, how do I target that market? So they developed the Aging and Adult Services Agencies, or AAAs, to say that I want you to take the money from our budget and focus it like a laser at those senior programs, okay? And then I want you to go out and find partners in these communities to facilitate these programs. So what do each AAA do for us? They provide direction, leadership, resources, and guidelines for state and local funding to help Michigan's aging, adult services, and disability network with the aim of helping residents live with dignity and purpose. That is what a AAA's job is supposed to be. And there are 16 area agencies on aging and over 1,200 service providers in the state of Michigan. So who would be our AAA? NEMSCO. In our region, the Aging and Adult Services is serviced by Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency, or NEMSCO. They're also our Community Action Agency. So they get the state money and partner with OAA, and they funnel that to each individual county Commission on Aging's or community partners. And they, with us, help with the governance and guidelines that go into each individual program. So then we're not just making this up as we go. We have OAA guidelines, MDHS guidelines. Now we get AAA guidelines. It's a lot of bureaucracy layers, but this is how we do our business. Okay? So they help provide that feedback. Our financial analyst is going to make sure that when we submit reports to her, they're going to be accurate. They're not going to be made up seniors. They're going to be actual people. She's going to quality test. She's going to audit me at least no less than twice a year. And she's going to make sure that we're providing the best services to our community. That's their responsibility. And we welcome that participation because with their help, we're able to do more. So they provide the direction, leadership, resource, and additional guidelines for state and local funding to help Michigan's aging, adult services, disability networks with the aim of helping residents live with dignity and purpose. Notice how everybody has the exact same mission statement, right? Dignity, aging network, support, purpose, person-centered. This has evolved over time. This has happened before I stepped into this role. This was how services are going to be delivered going forward. They provide guidance, oversight, and support within our service program. If I have a question, NEMSCO is somebody I can reach out and say, hey, I have a question about this particular program. How do we facilitate this? How do we get more seniors in our kinship program? How do I create a confident caregiver program, a support group of seniors who are taking care of kids that may need to meet and talk and vent and frustrate and say how hard it is that I'm 65 and I got to keep up with a 3-year-old. Somebody help me. They say, hey, here's some paperwork. This is how this AAA has been helping. And they have 55 people in their programs. Let us help you. Their goals are to improve health and nutrition of older adults, ensure older adults have choice through increased access to services. Their goals are to promote elderly rights, quality of life, and economic security. Their goal is to improve effectiveness, efficiency, and the quality of services. So yeah, if you have a grievance, we want you to pass it up. We want to see what we're doing. If you don't like what our response is, by all means, go to them. If you don't like their response, by all means, take it to MDHS itself. I have been on the other side of those. I have advocated for those individuals and argued in Medicaid court. They actually have a judge. And I have helped other people get their services that they are due and owed. This is a system. We want it to make sure that it works for the people that it was intended for, which is our older Americans. So this is where we get a little bit fun and convoluted. So we're going to give you a flow chart of how does this all works. So how does the federal funds come? How do the state funds come? How does the millage all play into play with all of our programs and services? And Tony and I are going to bounce back and forth in this section here. So flow charts, federal funds, state, local funds, oh my. Come on, that was fun. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. So federal funds, state funds, local funds, oh my. How does your tax dollars get spent? So how does it all work? Federal OAA funds are given to the regional AAAs, okay? These funds come with their own guidelines, eligibility requirements, accountability, oversight, and local millage match, okay? So local millage match. State funds from MDHS are given to the regional AAA. These funds come with their guidelines, eligibility requirements, and accountability and oversight, and local millage match. So you would think we would be back at what, step 3? Oh no, we're still at step 1 because they haven't even given us the money yet. At step 1, so federal and state funds are then given to ACCOA with the conditions of a local match of these funds. These funds come with guidelines, eligibility requirements, accountability and oversight, and local millage match before we even spend a dime. So what is the required cash match? So ACCOA is afforded the honor of partnering with the Oconee County residents, as well as the Board of Commissioners, to facilitate a millage to be spent on senior services. The millage taxes everyone, not just seniors, everyone. You own property, everyone gets taxed, regardless if you're 60 years of age. So people get taxed who may never use our services. So these services follow the guidelines set forth by the contract between ACCOA and the county. So the county has a contract with ACCOA that has its own guidelines, accountability, oversight, and audit processes, like every other portion above the rung of how we get to spend the taxpayers' money. So I did an inverted triangle so you can kind of see federal and state dollars coming down, passing down rules, oversight, coming and meeting and mixing in with local funds, coming in with guidelines and oversight. And now we have this little narrow focus of how we are allowed to spend millage dollars. This determines how our millage funds are being allocated. So let's give you a for example. We have our funding sources, OAA, AAA, state and local. Older Americans Act, Aging and Adult Services, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, local millage. Everybody got that? I know I just kind of gave you an acronym there, okay? But those are those pots. So let's say we have home delivered meals, and that home delivered meal programs are where we take meals that we prepare in the kitchen and bring to the senior's house so that they can age in place, they can age on their terms, and they can stay in their home longer without having going to an institution. A vital, crucial program. The county of Oconee County is 425 square miles. We put a lot of miles on a lot of trucks and a lot of gas and a lot of tanks to make sure that these seniors are getting these meals. So the federal government says we're going to give you $75,000. That's never going to happen, right? We know that. You know, they never give us that much, but they say we're going to give $75,000. Your cash match is 10%, Lenny. So 10% of the millage dollars got to go there. Now, this is a gross oversimplification because I didn't want to get into extra zeros and have to pronounce hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is a gross oversimplification to help you understand. $75,000 is federal, required 10% match, 75,000. The state MDHS says, Lenny, we're going to give you 25,000 on to match with the federal dollars. Wait a second, why did the feds give us more than the state? It always happens that way. The state does not match dollar to dollar of what the feds give us. Okay, so the state gives us 25 and they say, Lenny, you also have to make, or ACCOA, you also have to match it 10%. So that's $2,500. So the program income, if you add all of this together, is $110,000 that we get to spend for the entire fiscal year, which may only equate to 300 meals or 3,000 meals. Now, you may say, well, that's a lot. I don't know. People normally eat 3 squares a day. So one senior eating 3 squares a day is 21 meals for the week. 21 meals times 4 is roughly about 84. Times an entire calendar year, that's close to 800. One client. Let that sink in. So this is us. What ACCOA has to do when these funds come in. It's great, but it comes with a lot of rules and guidelines that we're happy to follow. But we like, oh, okay, we need millage help. And it's very disconcerting where that's the first place people go. We're going to touch that. Doesn't hurt us, it hurts the seniors who require the services. So, how does it look, Tony?
I know, this is my creation. And it's a mess. And I actually thought about scrapping it because it is a mess. But then I thought, you know what, it's a good visual because I can't really see it very well, but on the left side is all of the funding sources that we have, and they're all going into the ACCOA then, which is all of the funding sources that Lenny already touched on, such as, you know, the federal dollars, state dollars, millage, then we get donations. And I'm sure all of you probably know, we do not require any type of payment for our services from our seniors at all. We don't solicit any type of money from our seniors. However, if they choose to donate, and we are greatly appreciative of every single dollar we get, if they choose to donate, say the client gets home delivered meals, they give us $10 for that month, that $10 goes in the home delivered meal program. There is no crossing. We don't put that in our food bank of Lincoln money. You know what I mean? So whatever services that particular client gets, if they get several, we have many clients that get homemaking, personal care, and meals. If they send in a check and it is designated what it goes to that. If not, we separate it into all 3 pots. So we have those funds, and those, like I said, go into that particular department. We also have donations that come from not clients. It just be members of the community, churches, whoever that send us donations that goes into our general fund that we can spend it how we see fit. We usually pick a department that has the biggest expenses and the biggest need, which is obviously our 2 biggest programs, home delivered meals and in-home services. Those are by far the greatest expense. They have the greatest amount of staff and overwhelming. I mean, you can imagine the overhead and everything of it's very costly for food, and the cost continues to go up, truck maintenance, gas, fuel, everything, very expensive. So that's where those funds kind of get plopped into. And then you can see that the right side is a list of all of our programs at the bottom there. And the top row is millage money, federal dollars, donations from clients. Then we have grants, which is miscellaneous grants that Lenny writes grants for things that could go to a particular programs, such as the fitness grant that bought the fitness equipment. Obviously, that is a specific grant for a specific purpose. Therefore, all of the money went from that grant went to the fitness program. Other grants are a little more vague. They kind of, whatever stipulations they have, I don't know, that's Lenny and his grant writing. I don't have a whole lot to do with that other than placing the money in the proper bucket. There's also, what's the last one? What do I have on that last one?
You got fundraising.
Fundraising, that's another one. This one is, and I am addressing all of board members at this time. Fundraising is a function of the board.
Mhm.
However, and I will stress that, we do not have a whole lot of fundraising going on. And actually, I'm not really picking on the board because it's the staff, it's myself included, it's time, it's very time constraining to create some sort of fundraising. I do have in the board book, though, I've got a November fundraiser going for a bake sale, if anyone's interested. The funds will go to our home delivered meal program. But that is one thing that we really need to get on top of, because that's another way of bringing in money, whether it goes to a particular program or not, or just ACCOA as a whole. You know, it's great to have fundraising that we don't have. We don't ask the public for much. And this is a thing Lenny and I have had many conversations on. It's hard because we do know that public pays millage, and we thank you for that millage. And it's hard to then come back out at you with a tin cup asking for more money. And the fact that a lot of the people in the community are our clients. So again, we don't want to put any more hardship on our clients who are already struggling and saying, hey, you want to pitch in some money for our fundraiser? So it's hard, and we understand that Alcona County is not swimming in wealth, so it's hard. But I hope with this new board that maybe we can have some really good ideas, come at it with something fun. I don't know, but I had to throw that in there. But sorry, I got off track. But you can see my lines go from millage goes into every single one of those programs. Then we have the fundraising can go into every single one of those programs. Those are little arrows going into all of the pots of what we do. So it's not just this program is funded by the NEMSCA money and this program is funded by donations, or it's everything. It's very much all inclusive. We have general ledger codes in the hundreds. We have numbers for, and I am no CPA, so let me tell you, but we have codes for every department. And then in that department, we've got thousands, well, not thousands, hundreds of codes that are broken down. And so every single penny spent is allocated to a particular program. We have our NEMT program that is not funded by any type of grants or anything unless we get a grant for vehicles and things like that. But yes, that program is a fee for service. We do have like a sliding fee based on income and seniors and things like that. So we try to make it so that these people can go to their dialysis appointments and not have to worry about paying for that transportation.
And just to clarify, NEMT is non-emergency medical transportation,
Yes, thank you.
since we don't have a transportation commission in Alcona County.
Yes, and that program is growing hugely, and you know, much to the success of our coordinator and our team that goes out and you know, does all these long drives and things. So so yeah, that's my visual aid on the chaos and the stuff that we are held accountable for. The program managers have to not only manage their people and their department and order food and make schedules and contact clients and go out on assessments. They also have to be cognitive of their budget and to try to stay within the limits of what we have and to prioritize clients, as Lenny touched on. We don't like to tell anybody no. We don't like to put anybody on a wait list. We do not like to turn anybody away for whatever reason, because if they are reaching out to us, that tells us they need us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to judge. We do not judge. And we don't want to say, you know what? You kind of drive a fancy car. I'm not going to go in and clean your home. That's not on us. So usually the only time people get waitlisted is if we are short staff or in between staff or have to create a schedule for somebody. And it's like, okay, give us a couple weeks. We'll get on. As far as meals go, there's never a wait list. You need a meal, we're there the next day with a meal. So yeah, that's where all the millage money catches in. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded.
No, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. So let's talk about oversight and audits galore. Who watches over our funds? Who watches over your funds? So ACCOA is audited by no less than 3 agencies yearly. No less. Sometimes more, but at minimum, at least 3, because federal, state, and what? Local. So OAA audits, that is the purview of our AAA, which is NIMSCA. NIMSCA audits every program to ensure that the units match, which is what we submitted, meet the required local cash match, and we utilize all the funds that and stay within budget. So they make sure they get their end of year reports, and they sit down with us monthly because we receive these monthly reports. So every time we put a report in a book, okay, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but every time we put a report in that book, this book is a record. So then we take that record and then gives it to our 3rd tier, which is our independent auditor, who goes back and says, we're gonna go and make sure that all of these match what you just sent off. Then NIMSCA goes back and says, we're gonna go back and make sure all of these match what you sent off. And we're to the penny, to the unit. So next tier of oversight is our ACCOA County Commissioners. By contract, the contract states that we are to provide quarterly reports, but we provide you monthly reports. So you see this every month, so that you can provide monthly reports to our Commissioner Liaison, which is currently Bill Thompson, with our general ledger reports, our purchase reports, the breakdowns of how we spent the millage money for the month. So as I stated, we're only contracted to do it quarterly, but we do it monthly because that's who we are. We are transparent. We want you to see how your funds are being done. Then we conduct an independent audit. So we want to ensure that we're providing the best services and ensure that we find that we use the funds given to us by the public for the seniors within our community. So as I stated, got a little ahead of myself, all monthly reports, minutes, general ledgers accounts, purchase records are submitted to that certified forensic accountant for inspection and review. And they bring an army, about 7 of them. And they sit in here for a week and they go through it. And then they submit their findings to you. And after their audit, they issue an unbiased report. If we were good to go, if we weren't bad little boys or girls, we're good to go another year. So that is the layer of accountability that we have here at ACCOA.
And I do want to say, the audits that we go through, and I've only been through the last few, when I started here, and Tricia can attest if you've done any audits yet, or you will, they always send back pages of things that they either found wrong or that they have questions on, and it's just, a lot of times it's human oversight. Maybe you didn't give them a policy or procedure, because all of our policies and procedures have to be stored and kept with NIMSCA. So when I started here in 2020, I was coming on the tail end of an audit, and it was pages long of things that needed to be addressed, whether they were wrong or not, but things that were, I don't even know, just there.
Not there.
That they had questions
Yeah,
on.
of the previous.
And
director.
yes, and this was not under Lenny. So then they give you a corrective action and you have to fill it out and you have to say how you're going to address it. And you have to fix it before they close it out. So it could be a very long process. And this happens, like you said, we get several audits from them. Financial ones, we get home delivered meal ones, the kitchen congregate, and then we get our in-home service one. And since then, I have seen steadily every year it get better and better, much to the great staff that we have had.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to pat myself on the back on this one too, because I've helped with many of these audits. And Lenny also has made sure that we are on top of it, doing things correctly. Because nobody wants, everybody strives for that perfect audit. And I will say this last one was
Pretty
much
perfect.
There's the general one and the in-home service one, and the in-home service, I think there was a missing signature in a file.
That was it.
That was an easy fix. And the general one, which consists of all like the financials and the policies and procedures, making sure everybody has their background checks, because they do check that, everything. That was perfect. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that. So we've gotten better over the years. We've learned. We reach out to NEMSCA. I will tell you, Kelly Robin is a great person. I'm throwing kudos to her because she has been my savior. So we question all the time, because I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. Lenny's not perfect. He doesn't know everything. The board is not perfect and doesn't know everything, but it's a learning process. And we're proving on paper that we are getting better every year.
Yep.
And that is a huge sentiment to the staff at ACCOA and the time that they put in.
And that came with the evolution of technology. We've gotten computers, our accountability have gotten, and programs, and streamlining people into these programs, having responsibilities for one person, not having 4 or 5 different hats. So we've really changed the way we've done it, and actually became, instead of the redheaded stepchild, to the leaders in our group of this is how we should do this. So yes, kudos to our staff. You guys have rocked it. And I know people don't know how hard you guys work. So, and let's go back to the PowerPoint. So I'm gonna stay on script so I don't say something wrong. Oversight comes from our partnership. Our partnership comes from NEMSCA, the Oconee County, working with us, the federal government, and the state government. So all of that together makes this beautiful, happy partnership pie that we facilitate the program and services from. So let's talk about where we were and where we are now. Okay, did you know? Because I threw back to this, how the vision and mission changed in 2012 and 2013. In 2012 and 2013, ACCOA had to reduce services to the seniors and the community due to lack of funding. When I took over this job, I had access to all the previous directors' notes, and I sat down and I read. I sat down, I got with NEMSCA, and I said, tell me, how are we providing services? Explain to me what Oconee County needs and looks like. And this letter that was written to our AAA basically says, in a nutshell, that the first millage was renewed by the voters in August 2010, and it was for 0.375 mils levy for 5 years and will expire December 2015. The first year levy was raised $291,000. The second millage was renewed by the voters in August 2012, and it was for 0.125 mils and levied for 5 years. And then that would expect to bring in $95,500. Unfortunately, together, these levies were only raised $381,305 in 2012. We anticipate a greater reduction in 2013. Currently, our millage generates between 50 and 55% of our budget for 2012, and it was just under 54%. So let me break that down, because that's kind of director speech. We didn't have enough money. We had to turn seniors away. And I was like, that's horrible. How can we just live and die off of tax dollars? That's a dangerous place to kind of be, because what if that senior needs that service? I didn't have to sit with my staff and say, Susie Q and John Q Public, who do we pick? Who gets put on the wait list and who doesn't? Sorry, Mr. John Q. Susie Q's got a little bit extra disability than you, but I need those services, sir. Well, you can pay out of pocket. I can't afford it. Well, sir, I'm sorry, sir, but this is where we are at. We don't have the staff. We don't have the ability to provide those services. My apology. And I said, that's horrible. So I busted my hump with my staff and said, how do we expand services to the community without demanding are putting it on the backs of the community themselves. How do we bring money into the community to facilitate the services that they so need? So we expanded programs. Whoa, we spent money to make money. We expanded programs to get additional services for these seniors. So our new vision is proactive rather than reactive. So instead of waiting for the next crisis, we anticipate it. We look out for it. We say, okay, that's coming down the pipe here. And we're able to roll with the punches. No one could have predicted COVID, but guess what? No one lost services. We had people in full hazmat gear, full isolation gowns. If you ever seen the movie Outbreak, that was our home delivered meal staff, delivering meals to seniors at the height of COVID in the summertime. Masks and isolation gowns and gloves to ensure that seniors didn't miss a freaking meal. Got to stay on script.
Yeah.
Okay, so after COVID-19, the request for services didn't decrease. It increased. We saw all these individuals who needed more. They couldn't go to Florida. They stayed. So that only increased. With the greater increase in need means in greater increase of what? Cost. So as it currently stands, seniors continue to be the most vulnerable and the first ones to feel the effects of a recession. Regardless if we tell ourselves that we are not in one, that is where we are at. And our seniors are the ones who are feeling it. That's just the facts. So in that 2013 plan that director wrote out, in 2013, that director sat down and pinned out a community plan, community needs plan, that surveyed the seniors that they were providing for. And that survey was commissioned by that now ACCOA board of 2013 in conjunction with that executive director. And they conducted that needs assessment of Alcona County seniors in conjunction with their region AAA partners. So they use the reports that they got from NIMSCA and they follow the following as major priorities to Alcona seniors. Number one, homemaking services. Helping me in my house to be able to keep it clean. Personal care services, helping me take a bath or go to the bathroom, give me dignity. Caregiver respite. Hey, my daughter's been my primary caregiver. Can you give her 2 hours so she can get a mental health break? In-home medical care. We don't have a minute clinic. Medical care, meaning doctors and specialists that are not in Petoskey or Ann Arbor. Prescription drugs, like, hey, this pharmacy may not be in conjunction with my HMO or might not work with my insurance. Social needs. I love to be able to come in here and socialize, but I can't get my wheelchair up the stairs. Visitation. Can somebody actually see me? Hang out with me? Hospice. When I'm dying, can somebody hold my hand? Financial management. Can you help me with my bills? Seniors live in a different generation. Yeah, kids today wouldn't understand that sometimes one particular person in the household paid all the bills. They handled all the checkbooks. And if that person dies, so too does that knowledge. And now that senior who has never been in that situation before has to now pick up the pieces and live. Housing issues. Leave that one alone. Home maintenance. Fix my house. Help me fix my house so I don't get kicked out of my house. Heating. I live in a camp and we have a wood burning stove, but I can't get wood cut to burn it. Functional help and training. Hey, I would love to go back to work, but I don't have it. Pain management. emotional needs. Can somebody just call me and see how I do? That's a service that we provide. It's called friendly reassurance. We call single seniors with no one in their family, sometimes daily, to say, how are you doing? At no cost to them. Dealing with abuse and trauma, transportation, adult daycare. Yeah, it sounds weird, but sometimes people are disabled and their disability doesn't afford them the luxury of being able to be socialized without some medical intervention. And they want culture, music, and arts. I love that that was a part of the survey. I want to see culture and art in our community. I didn't commission that. The board did. Some 7 years before I even walked into this door. And guess what? Recently, our AAA did another community needs assessment. And guess what they found? The needs that were in 2013 are still the needs today. But they organized it into their top 5. The report is 71 pages, and if you want a copy, I'd be happy to print you off a copy. You can look at it yourself. So they talked about,
Whatever that was, sorry.
bless you. So they said that the top 5, in no particular order: housing, access to medical professionals, increased transportation. If you got to go to your doctor, good luck finding somebody who's going to drive you to Ann Arbor. Well, maybe not good luck. Call us, we'll do it. They showed that of our community, over 2,000 households, we only got 5,000 in our community, 2,000 households are in poverty. That's a pretty sizable chunk. Half of 5,000 would be 2,500. So over 40% of our county households are considered in poverty. So their community needs assessment, which sits on the OAA federal and state, and they find these numbers by how they allocate the resources to individual counties, found that this indicates our community members and families see a pressing need in the following domains: health services, housing and income, and financial security. Northern Michigan may boast of having multi-million-dollar beachside vacation homes, quaint downtown shops and festivals, beautiful beaches and harbors, but on the outskirts, hiding in the cracks of that image, are residents who are struggling to get food on the table and make a living wage. Generational poverty is prevalent in our service area. Thus, quote, Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency. So that's the need. Those are the services. This is what we do. This is what we're specialized at. This is what the staff is good at. This is what we're asking your help with as board members. So ACCOA board rules and responsibilities, setting the course, not sailing the ship. So there we go. So what we need from you, Tony, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I don't think we able to read it very well, but I don't have it on me either.
Tony,
So
would it
I
be
don't-
easier if you sat here?
No, probably not. So yes, as board members, obviously you are volunteers, not paid staff. So there's basic rules and requirements of a board, and these are general. These are not ACCOA specific. This is kind of following all the board rules and agenda out there. But number one is the board of directors exists to make sure the organization fulfills its mission. You're all here because you probably support ACCOA and want to see good things for the seniors. And so you got to support the mission. The second point is that the board of directors is responsible for hiring and partnering with the executive director. You've got to work together as partners in the public. It's just what we do. We all work together as a team. Do we always agree? Heck no. And anyone who knows me knows that I will not agree just to agree. I will say my piece. But I try not to make a big splash about it, because I am not always right. My opinions are opinions. Facts are facts. So that's number 2.
Okay,
Number 3, the board should provide proper financial oversight. That's exactly what we do. I don't think I've ever hidden anything in any of the board books. And I usually am the one who prepares the financial statements in the boards. Well, actually, let me backtrack that. Our accountant usually prepares the reports. I kind of break them down and usually we'll try to make them a little bit more understandable pie charts. I like to make them look pretty because they're numbers and they're not pretty. So I try to make sure that everyone is aware of what our expenses are and what our income is for the months. And then present that to you all so that you can make, educational decisions and things like that based off of all of our reports. The board should ensure legal and ethical integrity and maintain accountability. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading all
yeah,
that.
I'll
but-
read it. The board is responsible for making sure that the nonprofit operates within the laws that govern it at the local, state, and national level. Every board member should be familiar with the board's bylaws and adhere to them. The board should create and maintain a code of ethics. These are things that we already have.
The board should ensure effective organizational planning. Does that say at the bottom?
The board is responsible for both short-term and long-term planning.
Yes. Number 7, the board should orient new board members. So yes, that's obviously what we do because that's what I do within the ACCO organization is orientate new staff. So this is kind of an orientation, but we feel there are some board members who have been on the board for many years. We have an old gentleman who used to be president.
An
We
old
have a
gentleman.
Current president. It's a tough one, just kidding. So, ask of your fellow board members, how to, I'm sure some of you have served on many boards before, so the Robert's rules and all that stuff. So it's always good to have a board, like a board buddy or something.
Mhm.
8, the board should enhance the organization's public standing. I'm big on this and I preach this to new staff when they come on board. One thing that we are really big on is the confidentiality and the HIPAA. And also our staff and the board is an extension of ACCOA. Mockery of ACCOA or putting ACCOA down on the services is, I'm just going to say it, that's ugly. You don't have to agree with everything, and please don't agree just to agree with everything. But you incite fear within our clients when you start to, as an extension of ACCOA, when you publicly bash ACCOA, and sorry, it offends the staff that works here also. But when questions arise from clients that say, am I going to get a meal next week? What's going on? It really hurts me. It hurts me in the soul. So please conduct yourselves well in the public, please. That is just my spin on that, number 8 there.
You did well.
Thank you.
I was
Sorry,
like,
I am very
we're-
emotional about
I
that
know,
one.
and you got it. We're trying because it sucks because people don't know how hard we work. And it's easy to throw a stone from the outside. And I'm so happy that we have a full board that now you will see behind the curtain, behind the veil of how hard we work for our community, how hard we work for our seniors, how hard those people downstairs work for our seniors, how they're out, rain or snow, providing for our seniors. 5 o'clock in the morning in the snow, delivering meals. They're doing it. All right. Some kind of way they got out of, I got a order, yeah, number 4, so.
So why was that number 4?
I don't know. We should have put it in there because I highlighted it, but number 4, the board should ensure adequate resources.
I think this was number 10.
Yeah, so board members should want the organization to succeed, and they should be willing to help raise money to ensure the organization has the resources it needs to be successful. Some 501c3s require their board members to actually participate and donate. We don't. Well, we just saying that when you are out in the community, helping us raise money is a good thing because it helps us provide additional services for the community.
And time is also money. We have a few board members who regularly step up.
Exactly. And we thank you for
Tell them
that.
all the time how much I appreciate them. Because volunteers for the food bank, they were out in the cold. Was it snowing, raining? To pop up. I appreciate that. That is huge. Just showing up, like really.
Taking over
Showing
TFAP,
up.
you know,
That's
that's
huge.
the TFAP. That's a big program that our seniors rely on. It's an additional food program a month on top of the food programs that we already offer.
Yeah.
And you're getting what, 100,
Yes.
125 cars?
We were getting probably 175 families,
That's crazy to think about
and
this.
that's been going on for 30 years already.
Yeah.
Or more.
So, I mean, it's not like you cannot find the need. It's just, you're just not willing to see it or just not cognizant of it. And that's either a blessing or a curse. Because if you're blessed to not be able to see it, you're blessed. But if you're cursed to see it, your heart breaks when you do.
And I will say that the board, as it was before you two were added, because obviously you weren't board members, so you couldn't volunteer as board members. I think everybody here at this table has been to the pop-up pantry to volunteer. I know some of us, myself included, got hypothermia. I was literally almost taken to the hospital from sitting out there putting food in people's cars. So we do work hard. We work very hard, and I would expect that all of us would continue to do that. And I know the hearts of the 2 new board members. You know, I've known Leroy now for quite a few years, 10 years at least, and
We
I've
won't say
known
how many.
Dr. Turek for pretty close to that, I think. And so I know that we'll all continue to volunteer, and that's very important, because if the public sees us sitting on our butts doing nothing, that's exactly what they're going to want to do. And we can't function as an organization, as an agency, as a board, if we're not all chipping in some way. Now, not everyone can stand out there. You know, you've got an active chiropractic practice. You can't just take a whole day necessarily to come and do stuff like that. But we can all volunteer in some way or another to do things. And it's very important, I think, that we all get involved. Some can get involved more than others. Some are retired, some are working, but I think, and like, I think it was you, Tony, said time is money. By us giving our time, not just the board meetings, but actually helping the people that we're here to serve, that's golden, that's money. And that's very helpful. It's fewer people that we have to pay, et cetera, so.
Do you want me to do 9 and 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so the board, number 9, the board should determine and monitor and strengthen the organization's programs and services. The way you strengthen the organization's programs and services is first learn the organization's programs and services. You know, the board should work with the executive director to make sure that each program is successful. The ultimate goal, a failure of a program is not the failure of the executive director, it's the failure of ACCOA. So That should be the logic behind this. I am now sitting in a sacred calling to help my seniors in this community. Having them or having ACCOA fail is not one person's failure, it's the agency's failure.
That's right.
Number 10, the board should support the executive director in his or her performance. The board should create clear processes for conducting evaluations and identify specific board members to carry out on those evaluations and on the behalf of the entire board. This is time for unbiased reviews and praise and coaching and education. We're a team. ACCOA and board members, as an ACCOA board member, you have an obligation to this organization because this organization is an organism. You will be held to a high standard, and we ask that you follow the code of conduct and the rules of confidentiality. That's the part. That's the regulations that you have signed up for, is to welcome to layers of bureaucracy, but welcome to seeing someone's life change by something that you are a part of. So that is the orientation as we presented. And welcome to the team, Dr. Turk and Pastor, Clerk, Mr. Leroy, Mr. Parent, however you want to be addressed, but welcome to the team, and we look forward to this relationship because, like I said, it is a calling to help the community as a large, and I think that this is a good opportunity. I will say next week or next meeting, NIMSCO will be doing a presentation because they feel that this is important as well. They'll be doing a presentation about bridges out of poverty. We hope that you all show up because it's very important, because they feel that this education process of the new board, you need to see the conditions of individuals that you are now sitting in service over. So the next meeting.
And I have sat through, when I was with Catholic Human Services doing my job there, I sat through the Bridges Out of Poverty training. It is very valuable. I'm actually looking forward to sitting through it again, just to kind of refresh my memory. So thank you, Lenny and Tony, for your orientation. It was a good reminder for those of us who have been up here for a while, and good information for those who are deaf.
Can I make a comment?
What's that?
Can I make a statement?
Yeah, sure.
I'm on the pop-up pantry practically every month. And people comes up any place from 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30, set up there for 4 hours in their car. And if they're capable in that, we'd sure appreciate if they came down and helped us fill the boxes and get them out, then go back up to the cars. Then when we're ready to send them through, they'd be the first ones because they're the first ones there practically every month to pick up the boxes, and still sitting up there doing nothing. Appreciate if they came down and helped us a little bit.
And we could use the help, because I can tell you, none of us are getting any younger up here. And those boxes, maybe Jacqueline. And the boxes are quite heavy. Some months when we have milk especially, the boxes can be quite heavy. So for all the board members, in the front of your booklet that Tony put together is the code of conduct. So I would ask that you would take the time to read through that at your leisure.
And then sign it.
And then
return it.
sign it and return it, please.
We already did it.
Every year, yeah, every year we should sign it. Just a renewal of our agreement. If there's any questions on that, certainly call myself or Lenny or whoever, and we can talk you through it. Okay, moving on in the agenda, we have, you all have the reports for in-home services. They're not gonna come up.
They're not gonna come up, no.
So if there are any questions on any of the reports from the board? Okay, if you do have questions that come up, please call, either email or call me, and I will get with Lenny to get an answer for that question for you. Just as a reminder, the way the hierarchy works of the board versus the staff, we as a board have one employee. That's it. That's Lenny. We do not have any control over the staff members of the ACCOA. That's not our job. That's not our purview. That's not in our description. So we don't, to say that we don't talk to staff members is not correct. We do. Every time I walk in the door, I know every time Dolores walks in the door, any of us, we always say hello. I try and say hello to every staff member that I see. We're cordial, we're professional, but we have no reason to talk business with staff members. That's between the staff member and their department head, and the department head and Lenny. Then it can come to us because we are Lenny's boss. There is nowhere that says that we have any control. We don't hire, we don't fire staff members. Only one person, and that's Lenny, that we can hire or fire. Okay, so and we do it not as an individual. I don't have any power as president. I'm just one vote. But we do it as a board. And so Lenny has one boss, and that's the entire board of directors. Yeah, 10, 9 or 10, yeah. So I just, to make it clear, the hierarchy of how it works, the same goes with the employees. They go to their department head if there's a question or a concern. If it's not resolved, then that department head goes to Tony, who is kind of office manager, HR, accountant, whatever. She's got a million job titles. And then if that doesn't resolve it, then it goes to Lenny and then to the board. Okay, so it's kind of a reverse. All right. So I just want to make that clear. Are there any questions on the reports? If not, please email me, call me, or if you do have one that comes up, email me, call me, we'll get you the answer. All right. Any old business, Madam Secretary?
There is no.
No old business. Okay.
Oh, wait,
Oh, yeah.
got, on the wall and back there in this ramp,
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna get done because I called the contractor that we had here, and Harvey has tried to call him and that, and he told me, I'm busy this right now, I'll get back with you next week. Next week came, and the week after that's come, and so I don't think that's gonna get done. And I stopped Tom Jacobs at Chris Martin and asked him
Fiscal year.
about it.
I think you're
He
missing
told
that
me
from
that
your
he's
new
working
business
on a
section.
project that he made a bid on from last year yet. So these contractors and builders must be offices.
It's hard to get anything repaired or done unless it's $1 million job right now. They just don't. They don't seem to have the time. So.
Then it's going to take a couple years for them to do it.
Right. So keep on it, and if, because we need to get the information and we need to work on that. So, okay, thank you, Roland. New business.
Tony, get some strips of paper for Billy.
Any new business?
Yes.
Yes.
So in the new business section, you should have a copy of the Stevenson contract. That is our CPAs. It's up for renewal. I would suggest that we just go ahead and renew for the 5 year. They have proven themselves.
Nothing here.
Yeah, just rip the strips.
Oh, I just.
We're not getting to all the,
No.
okay. Let me go down. I'll make some copies.
Want me to do it?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Okay, so this is our certified public accountants. This is a renewal contract, has the same language as it was from the previous 2 years, just a renewal. They are asking either for a 3 or a 5-year renewal. I think the 5-year renewal is just as good as the 3. There's really no difference. They have proven that they are trustworthy with how they are at. They have, they're great forensic accountants. I know that when they issue their unbiased responses, that they have done their due diligence. And I would not want to change into another CPA because it will take time for them to know who we are, how things are running, about the NIMSCA reports. I think keeping as much the way we've run operations as similar as possible would be advantageous for ACCOA.
Well, just the learning curve alone on the NEMSCA reports is lengthy, as Caitlin can probably attest.
But isn't it recommended that a business change their CPAs every 5 years or something?
Well, we wouldn't have had
I
them.
think it's in some of our paperwork, because I've read it, that it should be changed like every 5 years. You should get a new CPA.
I don't know what document that you're referring to. If you
I
have
don't
it,
either. I'd have to go back home and get my paperwork out and see it, but it is, I did read it, that we should do that. So I
Well-
don't know if that's recommended or if it's just our idea or what, but in our paperwork, some of our paperwork, it says it is recommended that we change CPAs every 5 years.
And how long have we had Stevenson? 3, 2?
2. So if you don't want the 5-year renewal, then do the 3-year renewal, and you can produce that document. I'd be interested in seeing it.
I'll try to find it.
We could do the 3-year. That would put us at 5 years then at the end of that.
Yeah, and then
we
we can check it out.
Yeah.
I just think, I don't know why would you would throw that up like that. That's a big undertaking to change
Well, it's for our protection.
okay.
Yeah, if you can find the
I
document,
will.
bring it in.
Yeah, that'd be fine. So if you guys are good with moving on with the 3-year, you can do a 3-year either way.
Let's, while Tony's making copies of that agreement for the board, let's table that for a moment.
Okay.
So that we all have the document, and move on to Rollin. You had bids on, explain the reason for your suggestion of the tree removal and then the bid. And we have copies of the,
And earlier, Lenny said something about he has a hard time getting wood for his stove. This will help my reason. Okay, I got a hold of Giff and Sons Tree Service from Scotum. And came up and gave me an estimate on taking out both the trees. And the reason I think that the trees should come out of there is because right outside here between the building and the road, we're getting a generator for this building. And if we have a bad enough storm and those trees are getting pretty well rotted up there, the power lines are going through them too also. I hate to spend 13,000 or more on a generator than have one of those limbs come down and smash it. Because it won't last too awful long. And therefore, I'd like to get those trees removed and come out, cut the small trees to 800.
yeah.
Grinding 150. And then the bigger tree, 925. Grinding 75. Comes to $2,050. And if I take the wood away and clean up what's left in that, the 250 and 200. Now, take those trees down and cut them up quite what size that. We can take and stack it up outside here along the building or
I didn't get the
someplace
copy of the,
and put a sign on it.
thank you, Rick.
Would make a donation or something. And that way we can recover some of the money that was spent for taking the trees down there. And so I think that for those reasons, I think that it's best to get those trees down before they put that generator in.
And these trees are
Right outside.
right outside the door here, or
Right.
just out by the road.
Could we just cut some of those branches off on this side?
What for both the trees are dead up at the
At the
top.
top side.
The trees are dead?
Up at the
Top.
top, yes.
Oh,
And if they're dead up at the top, all the decaying is going to go down the trunk anyway.
would the village or consumers, if our lines is going through there, maybe consumers would do it?
I don't know, I don't think so, but I don't know when they're planning on setting the generator. Do you, any?
They're going to set the generator January the 13th, I think it is.
Okay, so we got between now and January, but I don't think that they'd grind any stumps during the winter time.
Would you, Roland, be willing to call consumers just to see if they would be willing to cut the trees, since they are kind of possibly impeding the power lines? I know somebody had said while you were talking that consumers regularly is turning people down for that. I know they turned me down. I have a birch tree that's hanging right over my power lines, and we all know how birch trees go. They just suddenly one day decide to let go. And, but they wouldn't cut mine down either. So, but it's worth a try because it would save us, a couple grand.
Yeah, do we have just one estimate, or has there been more than one estimate?
That's
I
that's
just
the
think
only
so.
one. That's the only
That's the
one.
only one.
Should we have another estimate? Or-
If we can
Possible.
find another
Tree service.
Another tree service that's willing to give us an estimate, yes, I would say so.
Can we do it ourselves?
I wouldn't be messing around with big tall trees like that. You got a
I wouldn't
huge
say,
liability.
I wouldn't say cutting down the tree, but planing some of the branches, we probably could do ourselves. But then again, if there's a branch that's over the top of a line and you take it down, then you can knock out power to.
Right, that's
whole
why I
street.
think
And then we pay
consumers
that.
might do it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
why don't,
It's worth
well,
asking.
Roland, if you're willing to call consumers and have them take a look at it,
Okay,
and then see if you can find 2 more tree services.
Call Rick's stump.
Yeah, Rick.
tree removal.
Rick stump and tree removal is
Barton City.
one, and that's in Barton City, so that would actually be keeping it in our own county as well. And there's multiple
And
tree
Greg's
services.
Tree.
And Greg's Tree, yeah,
Down in Greenbush.
in Greenbush, yep. So if you could do that and then bring it back to us at the November meeting.
okay.
All right, thank you, Roland. Roland, I'm sorry. I keep taking out the extra L out of your name.
Well, that's okay because it's on one of the papers here, so 1L,
Are you out 1 or 2?
2,
2.
it's Roland.
You always put me in there as Roland.
Well,
Roland is 1L, Roland is 2. Same as Holland, only with the R.
There you go.
How many times have you said that over your life? Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
okay, I'll remember that. That'll help.
Okay, all right, thank you, Roland.
You're welcome.
All right, so now everyone has the copy of the Stevenson agreement. What's the will of the board on that?
In reading it, it doesn't look like there's any urgency with this. If Dolores has some kind of document that she would be checking on, I don't see anything. It looks like this is new business, so it just got brought up this meeting.
When is
I
the,
don't see any urgency having to do something with this today.
when is the agreement?
It needs to be done this year because our new audit is in November.
Okay, so, our new audit's in November,
Our audit is scheduled for November.
and, okay.
Can they do it in November and then we can decide?
I mean, are they,
We can decide January, at our January meeting,
Why,
does
why,
our-
why a January meeting?
November.
because.
we don't meet in December.
Well, we can meet in November, but
We
still.
do.
Right,
in
that's what I'm
November.
saying, that can we
Decide it in
have them do
November.
it in November? And then we can make this decision in January. Can
No,
we do
it has to
that?
be done this year.
Yeah, it'd have to be done this year. So we could make the decision in November.
Yeah.
I think.
And that'll give me time to see where I read that.
Okay, but you have to have it before.
I
November.
understand that.
Yeah, before the meeting. You can get it to us.
Jacqueline has a question.
Yes, Jacqueline.
My question is, when is their contract up? Because they begin their audit on November 7th. So
Their-
if their.
The contract is up now. That's what the renewal
So
is.
they will probably not do it for us.
And then
Their contract is
Without a
up.
contract.
we have
and
to,
they begin on November 7th.
and as a condition of our, we have to have an audit.
Yeah,
So
we do have to have
according-
an audit.
According to our contract with them, or not with them, with ACCOA County, we have to have an independent audit. Or
Well, the alternative would be then
Do it in this.
to do a 3-year contract. And then when Dolores brings that information to us, and if it's decided that we need to change after 5 years, we can do that.
We'll still be within the 5-year.
Yeah, but that'll still keep us within the 5-year.
What?
Is that good with you?
It's whatever the board decides.
Well-
It's not just up to me.
No, what we're saying is.
I'll try
if we
to
do the
find that.
3,
and-
Okay.
But we have to make a decision.
Today,
It sounds like
yeah.
we have to make a decision because it's up November.
And I think that's a very important document, so I would hope that you'll
Well,
be
yeah.
able to produce that in November, so we
I'll
can.
yeah,
also-
I'll
Yeah.
try to find it.
Do we have, I'd be willing to entertain a motion. I, of course, as president, can't make motions, but
I will.
Will,
Yes. I move to approve a 3-year contract with the current CPA.
you will. Do
I'll
it.
second it.
So it's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing and
Now,
seeing,
if-
yeah,
If we say, yes, go ahead and do it, then we will not hire a new one until
3
after
years.
the 3 years.
Correct.
Right, but we'll still be within the 5. so-
Right.
But you could find that bridge of time.
any,
When did we've had Stevenson more than 5 years.
No, you guys went to Easy Audit, no, not Easy, some company in Alpena,
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
and I've seen that audit report.
no, I was on the board when we hired Steve.
It was called some CPAs or something like that. That was the name of that other group in Alpena.
Something, something,
No,
something.
it's, no, the company,
SOME is their
it's
initial.
SOME, some CPA.
Really?
That was the name of their company, some CPA.
We didn't have Stevenson when Susan was director.
No,
No,
You had some CPA.
no.
no, we hired them, I think at my first board meeting.
2020, I believe.
which would have been 2020.
Okay, I'll try to find that.
Okay,
Because that would be very important. for us.
yeah. Any, I'll do it again. Well, I'm gonna, since discussion was brought up, I'll ask again, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Roll call.
Well,
Roll
oh,
call.
yeah, roll call, I'm sorry, thank you. Roll call vote,
Mike,
yes.
Dolores,
Yes,
Pam, yes. Rollins,
Yes,
Stan,
Yes.
Will,
Yes. Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Leroy.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, before we go to public comment, we do need to elect, the board officers are elected every year. The board members are elected every 3 years. There's 3 of us up for election every year, so that way it's constant rotation. So we will start with treasurer. The current treasurer is Roland.
Yeah.
So I would accept nominations for treasurer. Roland, do you want to nominate yourself or?
I'll take it.
Okay, all right. So Roland has nominated himself. Do we have a second to that nomination?
I'll second.
Been seconded. Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none, we will close the nominations for treasurer. And we will vote momentarily.
Do we need to vote? He's by himself?
Well, it depends. If nobody's opposed, we can do a vote by acclamation.
Okay.
But if there's an opposed office, then we have to do
Okay.
a ballot. Okay, next would be secretary. I know Pam loves that job. But Pam, would you be willing to?
I will, sir.
Okay, so we have a nomination. Do we have a second? You want to get her back, Roland?
No.
I'll second her nomination.
Okay, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Are there any, she's begging, are there any nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none. Nominations are closed for secretary. Vice President, Dolores.
I think I'm gonna step down.
Okay,
I was going to nominate you.
That's what I want.
I would accept nominations then. Dolores, do you have anybody you'd like to pick on?
No, and I will do it, you know, if the board wants me to, but if somebody else would do.
Do we have? Okay, Jacqueline has nominated Will. Will, would you accept the nomination if elected?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roland and Dolores, you're really getting picked on. Okay, so we do have a nomination. Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Do we have any other nominations for vice president? You have to ask 3 times.
Yeah.
I know, people think I'm crazy, but that's what you have to do. Hearing and seeing none, nominations are closed for vice president. And finally, I cannot accept, I cannot run the presidential part, so Dolores, if you would open the board for nominations for president.
Okay, are there any, Mike, would you like to
I would-
stay on as
I would
president?
serve if elected, yes.
Are there, would anyone else like to nominate someone for president?
I'll second mine.
Well, I gotta ask that 3 times.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to nominate someone for president? Any other nominations for president? I'll, do I motion? I forgot.
No,
No.
just, you can close the nomination.
Okay, nominations are closed. Mike, if you will accept the president.
Okay, so we have
So it's recorded that Jacqueline seconded, right, Secretary?
Jacqueline seconded, correct.
But we have to have a nomination first.
We did,
He's self-nominated.
yeah, I self-nominated.
Oh,
Okay, so we have all 4 offices have nominees. There is no opposition to the office. So we can vote by acclamation for all 4 at the same time. Would you prefer, board, to do it by secret ballot or just acclamation? Okay, so all in favor of the slate of officers as it stands, let me read it. Treasurer Roland, Secretary Pam, Vice President Will St. John, and President Mike Maturin.
Well, there's one more, is that there building and grounds?
No, that's
the
the committee.
committee.
That's a
Those are
committee,
committees.
and the president will assign the committee. Okay, so that's our slate. I would accept the motion to vote by acclamation for the slate. It's been moved. Do we have support?
Second.
It has been properly moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor of approving the slate as read? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? No. Motion carries. Congratulations or condolences, depending on your point of view.
I know it.
All right, so we have just one more thing on the agenda that I added. What's that?
Your statement. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, and I mean this truly from my heart, I'm not trying to be gratuitous to the folks here, that I do appreciate you being here. I truly do. This is what makes democracy work, when we can bring up issues and we can discuss issues. Moving forward, I would like for that to happen more. Less Facebook, less letters to the editor, and more, let's talk. Let's make an appointment, sit down and talk. Years ago, when I was a kid, I remember watching television and watching government work long before C-SPAN. We had what was called statesmanship and diplomacy. And over the last 20, 30 years, things have gotten vitriolic, venomous, et cetera, et cetera. And this board is no place for politics. This is not a political entity. Politics does ride into it because we all have our political views, which determine how we think things ought to go. But this is not a place, we're too small of a county to be, and everyone says that local politics are nasty, and they can get that way. And I don't want to see this county and our seniors hurt, because all of us sitting up here care about our seniors, or we wouldn't be putting the time in to do this. This takes a fair amount of time, and we care. And if you disagree with something we're doing, then please call me, call Lenny, and let's sit down and discussion about it, rather than hurting the seniors. Because what's going to happen is the seniors, as Tony mentioned, and I've gotten some calls, the seniors are scared. They think that we're going to get shut down and that they're not going to have services. I don't want to, when seniors get scared, then things just go awry. We want our seniors to be comfortable and to know that we're going to be here for them, that we're going to help take care of them and get them the services that they need. It's important. I'm only 2 years away from being able to use senior center services. I would like this to be here when I get to that age. And many of us on the board here are already at that age. Or could be, yeah. I'm trying to be nice. So please, let's have open discussion. That's really what adults do, and that's what we should be doing. And that's my statement. I just wanted to kind of clear the air, because it hurts my heart as well to see people suffer. And I don't want that. I don't want that for anybody. There's no reason we all need to be walking around, looking over our shoulders, wondering, who's talking behind our back, et cetera, et cetera. So let's bring some civility back to what we do. Okay. All right. Public comments. Again, we have 2 minutes. Yes. Well, sorry, I didn't see you stand up over there.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead. And don't forget to state your name and your township of residence, please.
Pam McKinnon, and I live in Lincoln. So you were well, first I'd like to address the pop-up pantry.
Mhm.
Do you just ask people in the community to help you? I mean, can anyone volunteer to help do
Yes,
that?
we have volunteers, but we can always use a few more.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you talked about the oversight and as far as like the animals purchase and the buying of the property. And I just want to know exactly how that oversight works and where do we see the results from the oversight on that? I know you explained how you moved funds around and everything was okay, but I too work with the CPA. And I know how they work in our benefits. So I just want to know how it was, when you talk about oversight, who gets to see the oversight? Where do we get the accountability? Where do we see that? I know you don't have to answer me, but that's what's in my heart. And then you say, you were talking about how many meals that you provide. Do you actually provide 3 meals a day for people?
No.
Because when he was doing all his math and stuff, you said that's 3 meals per person and you use those figures to go off of. And I was under the impression that you only got one meal a day. Also, that you don't solicit money for that. I know for a fact that you send out letters to seniors asking for a minimum of $3. Yes, you do, because I've seen them and I filled them out for my father-in-law. So please do not deny what I know.
I'm not denying it, but I'm just saying it's not.
And I wrote the
I'm not
checks.
gonna go into how we have to do
Just,
that.
okay, fine.
By
I just
our
want that
rules.
to be made clear too, because just because you said you don't solicit them, you do solicit
We
them.
provide them with information on what they get, yes.
Right.
Yes.
We do provide a
And you- with a
suggested
minimum of
donation, but there's
such
no
and such
requirement.
per dollar. Okay, I know, I wrote the checks. Okay, and I was wondering about the staffing. You were low on staff, a lot of people had quit and stuff. Have we gotten more? Is that something that's getting better? And I know that you guys are all doing a good job and the best to your ability. But we sat here and we listened to y'all pat yourself on the back and everything else, but you're paid, not the board members, but the ones that you're talking about, the people getting out and providing the meals and showing up at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of jobs in the world that require the same thing. I'm not saying that they don't deserve the credit, but all employees should always do the best of what they're doing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Pam. I will, because I have the numbers in front of me for the meals, for September to October 25th, today. 1,488 hot meals, 800, is that 800? My eyes aren't working. 800 frozen meals, 485 sack meals.
And that's a lot, I get it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify since you had asked that question. Thank you. Yes,
Rich Gray, Harrisville, as a new senior.
congratulations.
Thank you. First, I'd like to ask about the dates that you do back-to-back boxes. I'd like to volunteer. I have the time, so I can give my number to you guys and call me.
Thank you.
If I'm here and available, I'll come help. I appreciated what you did today by letting us know what you do. And I take that serious. And I mean that in a serious manner. And I noticed the mission statement, as well as your sign, ACCOA Commission on Aging, was clear that you cared about seniors. You even said just now, our seniors hurt and you want to provide them services. And I'm grateful for that, because there are those that hurt more than we do. And I think it's a admirable and necessary thing to do. What society used to do in the family for itself, you guys are now providing. Shame on families, but good on you. That mission statement was clear, and yet it was broad enough now to include the entire community. And I think that the sticking point in Alcona County between ACCOA and the senior citizens is the low-income housing issue. Now, I understand what you're trying to do, but I also understand that there are other agencies such as NIMSCA and Habitat for Humanity that provide those services. I understand the grant that was written is broad enough to include all those things, and I applaud you for writing that grant. But I think, and this is my encouragement to you as a board, to include those other agencies and see how some of those monies can be used to help the people that currently need it in our county. And then focus on what your sign says, the senior citizens of Alcona County. And you made that clear, Vinnie, constantly through that. I mean, the way you did that presentation is wonderful. I applaud you for it. But I'm asking you as a senior citizen, and I speak for others, and I believe, I can't speak for all, but I know a lot of these people here. And their concern is that the community in low income is going to take priority over the aging. And if you can show us as a community that your true goal is to help hurting seniors by taking care of the aged first and low income second through the agencies that are meant to take care of them, we will stand behind you. We're going to stand behind you anyway. But because we don't want to see those villages taken away, but we want you to focus on the aged community first and foremost, and low income second. And that's the sticking point I've heard since I returned to Alcona County. That these apartments or whatever they're called have caused such a grievance with the seniors because they don't feel like you're listening to them. You want us to be here for you. We want to be here for you. You want to be here for us. I would like to sit down personally and talk to you on a level where we can understand. Being on a board of directors for a billion-dollar company, I understand money and I understand grants. Work on what we've asked you to work on. The agent first, get the other people involved that can take care of low income and give them some of that money to do so. And you will be applauded wholeheartedly by this community.
Thank you. I want to clear up some misconceptions, misinformation about what has been talked about in the community. These are not low-income apartments. These are not Section 8. These are not subsidized. They are what's called the missing middle income people. Also, there's two different sets. There is missing middle and there are the senior villas. So we are providing housing directly for seniors as well as what's called the missing middle. The low income was added in by somebody, I don't know who, but these were not meant to be like Section 8. And some of the writers in the paper have used the term housing projects. I don't think that was by accident, because that evokes the Section 8 housing in our memories. Okay, that's not what these are. We'll be glad to tell you everything's not set in concrete yet, because as we learn something new about some environmental regulation we have to follow or whatever, things do have to get changed. One of the other things that came about was the 3-story apartments, and we're going to put them up, and Lincoln doesn't have a fire truck big enough to handle them. The original plan, yes, was for 3-story apartments. As soon as Lincoln told us they didn't have a fire truck that could handle it, that was changed. So for almost 2 years now, it has not been a plan to have a 3-story apartment, but yet that is still going around. Another one that has been going around in the letters to the editor and on Facebook is that the first floor of all of the apartments are going to be office space. That has never been in the plan. The office space was in the community center, and that was to help pay for the community center. That's never been true. The other thing that was never true was that we were going to tap into the Lincoln sewer system. First of all, Lincoln sewer system is nothing but it's a huge septic system is what it is.
Yep.
Okay, it's not a sewer system. And we know that we couldn't have tapped into that. We never planned on it. The original plans are downstairs on the wall if you'd like to take a look at them, and you will see septic fields, self-contained septic fields in the original plan.
Well, the new plans are going to go up.
And the new plans are going to go up.
Look,
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on some of the things that he's also saying. It takes time, people. Any type of planning takes time. And I think a lot of people are asking for Christmas morning when we're still at the store shopping for the gifts for the kids. That's the best analogy I can give you. It takes time. Anything working with this size of federal government or state and local government requires guidelines, laws, and the way that things are putting together. You can't even submit for project permits without having at least a month or two of bureaucracy. So everyone's demanding answers. We're going to give you answers. We have a lot of people working together that we are trying to do the best, and running people up a flagpole because of misinformation, disinformation, and outright non-facts. We want, and we will always do what's best for the seniors in this community. People didn't give any care about this community down in Lansing. It took 2.5 years of knocking on doors, telling our stories to get where we are at. The biggest, largest ever infusion of cash ever in the history of Alcona County. People have passed us over for Tawas and Alpena. For the first time, we have been invested in.
And it was a bipartisan issue again. So it was bipartisan investment.
So the new plans will be up on the wall. You can come downstairs, see it, take pictures of it, share it. But it's senior villas,
One story,
one story,
handicap accessible.
handicap accessible senior villas or townhomes. Then it's gonna be multifamily townhomes. We've taken into consideration how it would look from Barlow so that people would driving by wouldn't be there. You actually have to come into the site to see how everything grows. There'll be pickleball courts, because I know you don't play basketball, right? Nobody's got, yeah, we're pickleball courts, shuffleboard, things for seniors, walking trails. These are the things that we are working towards.
Thank you.
Lisa Farrar, Harrisville
Yeah.
Township. A couple things. I think it was called the Lincoln Housing Project on the state of Michigan website that showed that it was a workforce grant. I think that's what it was called, Lincoln Housing Project.
That was,
I
yeah.
think I have the sheet of paper that shows.
Yeah,
it,
that-
so
Now that you mentioned
that's
that,
where
that was,
came from,
it-
right?
that was a working name, but it was never
was-
low-income housing
Right,
project.
but I'm just
It
saying
was
that's
not,
where-
it was not. It
excuse
was
me.
called the Lincoln Community Hub. That's what it was
Oh, that's
called
right,
in the
Lincoln.
omnibus
I think
bill.
on the sheet of paper I have, it says Lincoln
Yeah.
Housing
Well,
Project, but I can.
From the actual bill, it says Lincoln Community Hub, because the hub was to build both the senior center and the housing together as a community hub for a one-stop communication stop so that people can get access to services, as well as working with community partners. So say if you want to do MSU Extension or Michigan Works, all of that would be in a community hub.
And the second thing I wanted to bring up is that the reason we haven't been showing up to meetings possibly in the past is because we trusted the board to do what was right with our money. And now all of a sudden, we're starting to not so trust what's happening because we're hearing a lot of things. So that is the reason we didn't need to show up, because we trusted that you as our board members were doing what was right for the ACCOA. And now that we're not trusting so much, now we need to show up. So that is the reason why in the past we may not have shown up.
And we do
The
appreciate
last
you
thing-
showing up. I meant that when I said
Right,
that.
And then the last thing I wanted to say is that, you know, if the money doesn't come from the village for some of the projects that you have, then how do we know that our voices are going to be heard? If you're using state or federal funds, then maybe our taxpayers who pay this money, then we won't have a say in what happens because it's not our money. So that might be a concern also, that if you say that the money is coming from the taxpayers, then how do we know that our voices will be heard as to what, it won't be, because it'll be federal or state money. So then we won't have a say in what's going on, which is what we'd like to have. So there's a, you know, there's good and bad about that. And you might say, you know, you're not spending any millage money or taxpayer money, but then we have no say. And then again, that's not a good thing for our community either.
My recommendation would be, please continue coming to the meetings. This building project was talked about openly in meetings for 2 years. Gary Winnock was our county commissioner liaison for about a year of that. So this has never been done behind closed doors. It's been there. So keep coming, because when we do these plans, we do them at open meetings. And I didn't mean to call you out, Gary. I'm just saying, you know, you were county commissioner, you were here. So please, I mean, we welcome the public. We want the public. We set up chairs every month. Nobody ever comes, you know, until August. So please keep coming, keep asking questions. Gary, you look like you want to say something. No, you were just moving your hand. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and then Gary.
I'm Jerry Merrick, Hollis Township. I wasn't really going to say anything here. I'll make one reference to the auditing for 3 or 5 years. The reason it's good that you went to 3 years, regardless what was said, is difficult to change. As an engineer with Consumers Power Company, drawing work order prints for millions of dollars, we always had somebody that was not familiar with the job to come in and check that job, and they always found something. I mean, I was really good, but I always found something. I'm just joking. The other issue is and you were talking about the hierarchy of complaints or stuff coming from grassroots or to whatever, and then to King. My question is, what if the issue is the director? Then how do we get
You come to me
go past
or the board.
to you? Okay, I want that everybody to hear that. Because this is one of the, what I'm hearing is one of the big sticking points. Another one, and another thing I'm gonna say. When that millage came through, the impression that I got when I went to vote for it, and I did vote for it, the impression I got, they were gonna build a nice, modern senior center. There was no indication of it, or even insinuating that they were gonna go into the real estate business. I mean, you call it whatever, that's what I'm calling it. There was no indication they're gonna build some kind of housing. So this is what everybody's, I'm talking to people all over town.
Right.
This is the thing, why in the Sand Hill are we talking housing when the whole issue was to build a nice modern senior center? And until this issue was taken care of, I know I've heard all the story. You make a very good presentation, sir. You're really good at it. I'll compliment you on that. But you're throwing all kinds of numbers and crap around. We're not sitting here dumb and stupid people. We know numbers and contracts and looking at property and what you can do with property. We know all that kind of stuff. Everyone's sitting here today. So I'm warning you, don't look down on us, sir. And you on the board, you have to start looking at this property issue. We're hearing that there was, the one in Harrisville was the wetlands. Now, how in the Sand Hill, if it's a wetlands, would you buy property, put a building on? As an example of what we are hearing. So I'm saying this. This is, you've already answered the question. If the issue is the director and you have complaints and for example, the staff members and so on are scared to say anything. How do we get past the director to get to you on the board? You're answering that for me, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I was sitting here and I've been seeing all this stuff and I've seen these presentations. And it's always on these presentations from a bureaucracy is, well, either we don't have enough money or we don't know what we're asking or we don't understand. I assure you, people on the board, we in the county understand. And we're not going to sit back anymore and just say, okay, board, we appreciate all you're doing. Don't get me wrong. We all understand there's a lot of work involved. That's why a lot of people don't want to be on it. Okay, I'm on the township tax board review and all that. I know how hard it is to get people. So that's my statement.
Thank you, Jerry. Just to answer the question about the hierarchy, if the issue is about the director and it's from the general public, you come to the board. Come to me, come to one of the board members. We'll put together we have a personnel committee that would talk about that. Today, before we adjourn the meeting, I'm going to put together a grievance committee, as I promised Lisa I would do. If it's coming from staff, and Tony would be the stopgap before the director. So if the complaint is about the director, obviously it wouldn't go from Tony to the director necessarily. It would come to me as president and then to the board or the appropriate committee, depending on what the issue is.
Does the staff know this?
Yes.
Yes, they're trained
The
in
staff
that.
is oriented on since day one and gets a copy of our what is it, organizational flow chart, and everybody knows their first, frontline workers know they go to their supervisor with anything. If their problem is their supervisor, they bypass their supervisor and come to me. And then goes up the chain. They all know.
Yeah.
It kind of sounded like there's some of them that they didn't feel that they could do that. So that's why I'm just.
Yeah. Thank you. Gary had something first and then Chris.
Gary, Township, I guess there's quite a few things that I'd just like to bring to light. not expecting answers from them right now, but I have heard from an individual I trust that the wording in the last village was modified, and that I find very disturbing because, as everybody says, this here is for seniors only. It was supposed to be a senior only. I guess the second thing is, I don't know if it's changed since I sat on the board of commissioners. Those of us that understand closed session and HIPAA laws, we have never signed a confidentiality agreement. We were entrusted enough to believe that people had enough of a reputation to do that. Number three, I was involved when they had problems with the previous director. And I will tell you this, that from what I've been hearing, things are worse on steroids and nothing has been done by this board to rein that in. And I think that needs to be addressed. And in this new era of bringing everything to light, I guess I've been hearing it, you know, about comments have been made about the members here that are sitting out in the gallery about us being idiots, I guess. And I guess I kind of resent that. If you guys want to have open discussion, then, you know, I guess the first thing I could ask is that FOIA we produced, give us the information, because it would shut down all this garbage. At that point, I will end.
Thank you, Gary. I personally have not heard anybody on this board refer to any of you as idiots. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It doesn't mean other people haven't done it. I have not heard it. So, but I agree with you. We need to have adult discussion, not playground bully discussions. I agree with you 100%, Gary.
And I'm sorry, one last thing.
Yes.
When it came to this, when I sat on the board of commissioners and this stuff was being propped, it was a senior center. It was not adult foster, I mean, women.
Compartments.
Provisions.
Okay,
That's what it was.
thank you. Sorry, Chris.
Brenda Bray, Carrollsville. Just a couple comments. Never been in here before since COVID. But
Welcome.
there's still signs on the doors, and I think they're inappropriate in here. And CDC doesn't recommend it. I've been in Phoenix, I've been in Dallas, I've been in Chicago airports. Nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's social distancing. I'm asking the board to recommend that these signs come down and let seniors make a decision whether they want to wear them or not. And let everybody else make their own decision.
Thank you. I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry.
Brenda Bray.
Brenda, thank you. Well, yeah, it's been a long day. Chris.
I want to thank everybody that does volunteer for the food pantry. It's a great thing, okay? And I drive through town because I've been in business for 30 years picking up vehicles. And those people that sit there for 4 hours, obviously they have nothing else to do. They're not workers, okay? Where is our poverty at? It's not necessarily, in my eyes, and I've been here since I was 12. The poverty isn't in the seniors. The poverty is in the younger generations. I say the working class people that are in their 20s and 30s. Granted, the last year or so, wages have probably more than doubled. So those people are now making a good wage. But you have a pop-up pantry that's in the middle of the daytime. Where are the people that are in poverty? Are they working? They can't take time off work to go get $30 worth of groceries. I mean, it's a great program. Love it. A lot of the vehicles that I see there are $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 vehicles. And you can't tell me those people are living in poverty. I've lived in poverty for 30 years because I chose to. I don't need money. I'm going to be happy without it. And I'm glad that they have the food because yes, we do accept it and use it. Another issue was when you said a problem comes from the director to approach the board. I did approach the board and I got nothing from the board. I talked with Mr. O'Connor. Okay. I had talked to Dolores also about issues. Nobody from the board ever came to me. I had a contract with the ACCOA, verbal contract, to clean the vehicles. Mr. Avery's actions, he fired me because he thought I was a drive off hit and run. When in fact, no, I've been in business for 30 years. I have insurance. My insurance paid for those vehicles to be fixed. I had to come up with $500 out of my own pocket because of my faults. Okay. To me, it wasn't my fault that that door did not operate properly. Okay. But it is my fault that I didn't check this door prior to leaving my building. So an accident wouldn't occur. So I guess I ended up paying for that, but I lost my contract because of his, what do you want to say? Professionalism. Like I say, what came from him downstairs in front of several people was very, very unprofessional and uncalled for. I've never in my 30 years of business been reprimanded such as Lenny did to me.
Thank you for your comments, Chris. I can tell you that I, for one, this is the first I've heard. So whoever you talked to on the board did not relay it
I don't
to.
believe it's the first you've heard of it. It was brought to the board when the accident occurred.
That may have been a meeting when I was in the hospital. This is the first I have heard of it. I have no reason to lie about that. But yeah, we'll definitely look into, we'll discuss what we need to discuss in order to make sure that things like that don't happen again.
Can I comment
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
pop-up pantry actually is from 4 to 6. And that's to accommodate the people that are working. But a lot of them still can't get there by 6 o'clock. And so we try to,
Like I say, I commend you on doing an excellent job, all.
well, we have
Anybody
a lot
does.
of people go through our line, and most people, I gotta tell you, most people, 90% of them, thank you, thank you, thank you. They really appreciate it. Whatever they're driving, they still, appreciate what we're doing. And we do try to have it till 6. And hopefully we don't run out of food, because several times we do.
Yeah.
But
Well, like I said, I'm glad that food is available for people. But I see it with my own eyes.
yeah,
I drive old vehicles, okay? I have forever.
Me
Because
too.
I'm not gonna pay a $400 a month payment on a car and then pay for full coverage insurance on it that I can't afford. So I see a lot of people that come from there, driving in, driving out, that they're not living in poverty. Their households have 2 beautiful vehicles and they live in a beautiful home on a beautiful lake in a beautiful county.
we can't discriminate though.
I
We
know,
can't
that's
ask
the
an
same.
income, and we can't,
I'm glad we have it because there are those out there that can't get there to get it.
right.
Yeah.
And I understand that too, but
Yeah.
one of our
Okay, this is
problems
the-
in this
the-
area is we don't
Yeah,
have
we
the
need to write this
population
Okay.
of younger generation.
We've gone well beyond the 2-minute limit. Thank you, Chris, for your comments. I do appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
want to.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm there from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Every factory that we've had, I've been there those hours.
Maybe stress that, and maybe when you put it in your article for the pop-up pantry, that stress for people that work in families, still available after
Yeah.
work hours.
And in addition to that, we also have the Lincoln Food Bank that people can come to or make arrangements for that. So, okay, any other? I thought I saw a hand up. Yes.
My name is Jessica, Curtis Township. I loved your presentation. Thank you so much for it. I'm hoping, because you are going to start putting the Zoom meetings up on the website, I'm hoping you can put that presentation on the website too, because there were some of the slides that was hard to see back here, and I would love to be able to see that in more detail, if that is at all possible. And if so, you might have a rough idea of when that might be available.
We'll see what happens. with our IT and adding to our website. So
Our IT department
there's one person.
is one person and he works
works
full
two
time.
jobs.
So we'll get it done as soon as we can.
Do you think it'll be before like the next meeting or just kind of a rough timeframe?
I don't have a rough, maybe I will try to get it before the November, but there's a lot of other moving parts that need to happen before that. But we'll try to get it out so people can see it.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Any other comments? One last opportunity.
You put on
Okay.
paper.
Yeah,
What's that?
Liz
Like
Brown,
what you-
Haynes
the
County.
first
I guess if
Presentation,
uh,
I guess.
the state of Michigan has finally decided to acknowledge that Alcorn County exists.
Yes.
And we have a wish list. I know I, as a senior, would be very happy to see it listed as senior housing and continued care. The problem with moving, as you all probably all know as a couple, is the emotion of moving away. Okay, I make my move from my house to a senior center. Now, if someone, one of the two gets sick, I have to go to Taos or El Pino or somewhere. That's terribly difficult. If we're gonna dump money in, if we're gonna do it, I'd like to see the wish list include continued care.
thank you. Appreciate that. And in the interim, we do have the non-emergency medical transportation program that you can call here and get a ride to doctor's appointments, et cetera, like that.
And just so you know, friends do that for one another.
Yes.
Don't all call.
Yeah,
Listen, there are seniors out there taking care of themselves.
there definitely are. There
And
definitely are.
yet, we want this ahead. We're planning ahead. We're thinking ahead.
Right.
And you seem to be talking those against us, and it isn't that way. We just want to be heard, because that whole thing of this came out of a survey. Anybody get surveyed?
No.
No.
See, therein lied our problem. I've never been surveyed. I've lived here my whole life.
NEMSCA did a survey and
I'm just
University
saying,
of
they
Michigan did
didn't
one. That's all I
ask a
can tell you.
senior in Alcorn County.
So, okay, before we devolve into. Oh, I'm sorry.
He's not walking, so
Okay,
I'll let you know.
all right, please. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sharon Hughes from Harrisville, and I had to go up so I could read the
Yes.
thing.
I saw that.
And noise, you can't hear some of you people talking. But I remember you started out with the federal government, then you went to Michigan, and you said there were 16 agencies, and ours is NEMSCA. Do you have a choice of who the committees are that you help you, or is it just NEMSCA?
NEMSCA serves 12 counties, right?
Okay.
12 counties
Well,
in northern.
I kept on hearing NEMSCA says, NEMSCA says, NEMSCA says, and why don't you listen to us? One of your 5 things is we don't have medical specialists. We all know we can't have medical specialists in Alcona County, that we have to go to Alpena, or we have to go to Tawas or Saginaw. We know that. That isn't a problem. We came here because we like the rural setting and all this. So you need to know what we need. Just because they say that's a problem to us, it is, but it's one that we accept. We came here knowing that was going to be the case. Thank you. And thank you for all the work you do. I know it's hard work.
You're welcome, and thank you for your comments. Did you want? You're
No.
standing. Oh, okay, you're just standing to stand. Okay, no problem.
I investigate that.
Anybody else? I would accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Appoint committees.
Oh, yes, I'm going to appoint one committee today, and then the rest of them I will work on this week. For the grievance committee to handle the grievance that we received, I would like Dolores, if you would, please. Pam and Will. Will, when will you be back in town?
I'll be back late afternoon Friday.
Okay, that gives us time. Okay, so, and then I am ex officio non-voting member of the committee. So As soon as Will's back in town, we'll set a meeting to go over the grievance that we received. And then Lisa and Dr. Turek, we will get back with you within that period of time. Okay. I would accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the most of it.
Been properly moved. Is it seconded, please?
Yes.
You can't second your own
I'll
motion.
second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The meeting is adjourned.
We tried.
Leroy, this